Hello, community. This is Tom Blubaugh, CEO of Common Sense Marketing Strategies. I'm here with Sarah Tunn. Sarah is one of our vendors. How are you this morning, Sarah?
I'm very well, thank you, Tom. It's good to be here.
All right. You did other things before you came to writing. What is your background?
I have quite an eclectic background, which actually helps in terms of writing and also helps in terms of writing, helping others to write. I was a teacher, a secondary school teacher, did a number of things, but drama, history, and English were three main subjects that I taught. So those things are very word-based, are very writing-based, and that was my interest, but also it means that I can tutor people and help folks no matter where they're at in the process. I'm a university graduate, so I can work at a higher level, or for those that are just starting with writing and they have a great idea, but they're a bit daunted about the whole writing thing, I can help at that level as well. But I was an actress and singer before I came to writing, and that gave me a flavor and an opportunity to see various parts of the world. So I'm accustomed to different cultures and different backgrounds, and I'm aware that we're on a world wide web. So whereas you're American and I'm Canadian and we're predominantly English speaking, I live in Spain now, lived in England for a good while. So I'm used to getting involved with and acclimatizing myself to people with different ways of working and different ways of communicating in the English language.
All right. How did you start your first book?
I had an idea for a book. This was back in 2000. And, well, actually, the Lord laid it on my heart to write. And although I'd kept journals and I'd done various things, I'd never really thought of myself as a writer per se. So I thought, I'm going to write this book. It's a fiction, and it'll never see the light of day, but it taught me that I have the discipline to finish what I start, and I was able to complete the book within that year. I sent it off to publishers, got some good feedback, but it wasn't ready, and I learned, one of the first things I learned was you need to do drafts, lots and lots of drafts.
Okay, so where did the idea actually come from for your book?
Well, that was the first novel, but what's interesting, the very first book I actually published, it's called Free to Be. It's available on the internet. It is a personal growth book for people that are either Christian or Christian sympathetic, because it's packed full of scriptures. And it's all about how to find who God created you to be and to live that freely and unapologetically and unashamedly, confidently. And the idea came while I was on an airplane. It was about a 3-hour journey. And in the course of that journey, I wrote the outline of the book, nudged my husband, and I said, I think I've got an idea for a book. And it was out of that I decided to write full time. That was back in 2004 that I wrote the first draft, then discovered that I was pregnant and family kind of took over. But in any case, that was the very beginning of the first book that I was published. Got the outline, wrote it down, and went from there.
Well, I've read that book, and it is a very good book. And I have to admit that it helped me a lot with my background, so thank you for that. What are the 3 ingredients to writing a good book?
I would say that, first of all, let me see my notes, tenacity, tell a story, and touch base. I've preached a few sermons in my life, and I know you need to have a handle on things and try to think in 3s. Tenacity, as I said, you've got to know that you can finish what you start, and not to be concerned if you've never written a book before. I can help you. There are others, Gina and others who can help, how to get from the starting blocks and keep going. So that you've got to be able to stick with it, otherwise it won't get finished. Knowing how to tell a story, where it begins, what the middle is, and the ending, and have a sense of what gets things going, what will keep your readers engaged. Whether it's fiction or non-fiction, you need to get out of the starting blocks right away and go through to the finish line. Sometimes you'll have an idea of where the story is going to finish, but you don't know how to work out the middle. We can work on that. And finally, touching base, finding what it is that is working and finding what isn't. That's getting feedback. I mentioned drafts. Lots of times people think it's that you should get it right the first or even second time. Sometimes it takes Stephen King or other writers a number of drafts. And how do you know? You keep going back. You go back yourself and proofread it, but you also have people to touch base with, whether you're in a writer's group or you have a developmental editor or a combination of different touchstones, and not your partner, your best friend, or your spouse, because they can't be any more objective than you can, although they can be encouraging. So those are the three things: tenacity, telling story, and touching base.
I like your 3 T's. Okay, with self-publishing going viral, there are lots of books, in fact, millions out now. How important is quality to writing today?
I think it's really important to put a good book out. There are a well-written book, a book that covers what you say it's going to cover from beginning to end. Advertising is really important, but you have to have a good product to advertise. Otherwise, you may have a burst of sales initially, but when you want to get the second book, you're going to have a problem because people aren't going to trust the product. So it's really important to have good quality writing, especially as there are so many people publishing. You want to stand out above the others.
All right. Where do your fiction stories come from?
The first one that I just published, I have published 4 books in total, but the first fiction that I just published in 2016 came a combination from a dream, my imagination, and my knees. I prayed through that book a lot, the first draft, to get a sense of where the story was going, because it was bigger than me. It was better than my imagination, or what I believe my imagination would do. And so the story began with a really clear idea of who the central character was, how she spoke, who she was, what mattered to her, and it developed from there. But I have to say that the 4th main draft was what actually was published, and it's very different from the first story. So where it comes from is a combination of imagination and hard work and prayer, inspiration.
All right. So how can an author know what to write about and whether it will be popular or not?
Well, this is something I think you first have to start with what matters to you, because what you know about and what matters will drive you. Your passion will drive you. Then you have to have a look at who it is that you might want to tell the story to. And that is a combination of what you want to accomplish through your book and who you think is going to read the book. So everything that I write is geared toward helping people know who God created them to be. Whether it's a story for toddlers, I've written a little toddler book about a faithful prince who goes up to the top of a hill and praises God every day, but he encounters obstacles. That will help a child to understand not only who God is, but how they feel, not consciously because he's a little guy or a little girl, but how they connect with the story and how they connect with God and what matters to them. I think that literature, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, taps into a person. And for me, my motive is to encourage people to be free to be who they were created to be. You as a writer are going to have your motive. What is it that you want to say? And you need to know what it is you want to say before figuring out who you want to say it to. Then you find, well, which is the best vehicle to say what you have as a message? Is it fiction or nonfiction? And is it as a children's story or an adult story? And so on and so forth. So it's pinpointing a few answers to questions so that you know in the beginning how to target your audience.
Excellent. Okay, Sarah, if you gave one word of advice to take away from this interview, what would it be?
I would say be prepared to go the distance. Write numerous drafts without feeling like you're a failure, because effort and time is every bit as important as inspiration and genius. What was it, Einstein or Darwin or someone like that said, intelligence is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. And also give ears to hear. So allow other people to hear. Be willing to write different drafts, to explore different things, and engage with other people in the process so you can get feedback. Be courageous, be consistent, and you'll get a great book out.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. And we will see you or in the community.
Every blessing to you, and thank you. I'm really excited about this community. Bye for now.